Blueface just went live, and what he said sent shockwaves through the entire timeline. Chrisean Rock had barely announced a birth. Barely. When another bomb dropped. A name, a claim, a father twist nobody saw coming. And suddenly, Pooh Shiesty was trending for all the wrong reasons. If you thought you'd seen it all, think again. This is Hood Files, where secrets explode before your eyes. The internet couldn't believe it, and you won't either. Because this wasn't just another toxic breakup rant. This wasn't just another Instagram meltdown. Blueface didn't just react. He exposed a narrative. He claimed there was more to the story, more to the timing, more to the father rumors swirling behind the scenes. And now everyone's asking the same question. If you were in this position, same betrayal, same public humiliation, what would you do? Would you stay silent, or would you press live and let the world burn? Fans are saying, bro said too much and they got him. Others are whispering, this was bound to happen. But what really happened behind closed doors? Let's break it all down. And trust me, it gets uglier. The moment Chrisean Rock announced she'd given birth. The timeline should have been simple. A baby, a new chapter, a reset. That's what most people expected. A peaceful post, a few congratulations, maybe a filtered hospital photo. But this is not a fairy tale channel. This is real life, amplified by ego, history, and millions of watching eyes. Because within minutes of the birth announcement circulating, the internet did what it always does. It started digging. Screenshots resurfaced. Old interviews were clipped. Dates were compared. Timelines were analyzed like a courtroom exhibit. And right in the middle of it all, Blueface. Now, let's be clear. Blueface and Chrisean have never been a quiet couple. Their relationship has lived online. Loud, chaotic, emotional, unpredictable. From viral arguments to tearful reconciliations, their dynamic has always blurred a line between love story and reality show. And when you build a relationship on public spectacle, don't be surprised when the public feels entitled to every detail. But this time felt different, because Blueface didn't just react emotionally, he went live. And when he went live, his tone wasn't playful. It wasn't sarcastic. It wasn't even confused. It sounded calculated. He leaned into the camera, paused, let the comments flood in, and then he started talking about timelines, about receipts, about what really happened. He didn't confirm anything. He didn't provide proof, but he raised questions. And in internet culture, sometimes raising a question is more powerful than making a statement. Viewers clipped the live stream instantly. Blogs reposted fragments. Headlines popped up within the hour. Blueface speaks out after birth. Father claims surface. Another name mentioned. And that's when things escalated. Because once Pooh Shiesty's name entered the conversation, even in the speculative, allegedly did it that way, the temperature changed. Fans didn't just debate. They chose sides. Some people said Blueface sounded hurt. Others said he sounded strategic. Some called it clout chasing. Others called it betrayal. And beneath all that noise was one uncomfortable truth. No one actually knew the full story. But that never stops the internet. Anonymous accounts claimed they'd seen private messages. A so-called insider on a gossip forum alleged there were conversations months earlier that hinted at tension behind the scenes. A blurred screenshot started circulating. No names visible, no timestamps clear, just enough ambiguity to make people argue for hours. You know how this works. One person says, that's fake. Another says, why would he lie? A third says, look at the dates. Suddenly, a newborn child becomes a trending topic. And the adults involved? They become characters in a digital courtroom where everyone is both judge and jury. But let's rewind, because before the live stream, before the trending hashtags, before the alleged father drama, there were signs that things weren't stable. Old interviews resurfaced where Blueface had joked, or maybe not joked, about trust issues. Clips where Chrisean appeared defensive. Moments where both of them hinted that their relationship had blurred boundaries. At the time, it felt like typical celebrity chaos. Now, fans are rewatching those clips like detectives. And here's the uncomfortable part. When relationships unfold publicly, perception becomes reality. If enough people believe there's smoke, they start looking for fire. Blueface critics argue he should have stayed silent, that if there was doubt, it should have been handled privately, that airing suspicions right after a birth announcement feels insensitive. His supporters argue the opposite. They say he had a right to speak, a right to question, a right to defend himself if he felt misrepresented. But notice something important. No official statement confirmed anything. No verified document was released. No legal filing surfaced. Just words, tone, timing, and timing matters. Because the live stream happened quickly, almost too quickly, as if tension had been building long before the birth. People began asking, was this planned? Was it emotional? Was it retaliation for something unseen? Meanwhile, Chrisean stayed mostly silent at first, and silence online can be louder than screaming. Her supporters flooded comment sections with messages of protection. Let her rest. This isn't the time. Y'all doing too much. But in the background, speculation grew. A blogger claimed there had been distance between them for weeks. Another influencer said they'd heard whispers of disagreements over loyalty. No evidence, just whispers. But whispers travel fast. And then came the second wave of reaction. Pooh Shiesty's name began trending not because of a statement he made, but because other people were saying his name. Reaction videos, think pieces, commentary threads, everyone analyzing something that may or may not have existed. That's the power of narrative. Once a storyline forms, it takes on its own life. Blueface didn't provide DNA results. He didn't present proof. He simply questioned the narrative, and that was enough to shift the spotlight. Now here's where it gets complicated, because when you question paternity publicly, even indirectly, it's not just gossip, it's reputational, it's emotional, it's explosive, and whether his claims were strategic or sincere, the fallout was instant. Sponsors started getting tagged. Old tweets resurfaced. Past arguments were reinterpreted. Every detail suddenly mattered. Fans dissected facial expressions from months-old photos, compared hospital timelines to tour dates, zoomed into background reflections like it was a crime documentary, all because one live stream planted doubt. And doubt is powerful. But here's the twist no one saw coming. Because while everyone was focused on what Blueface said, very few people were paying attention to what he didn't say. He never used the word confirmed. He never presented proof. He never filed anything publicly. He raised a claim, and then he let the internet run with it. Was that intentional? Was that reckless? Or was that emotional overflow in a moment of stress? We don't know. What we do know is this. When a narrative like this starts, it doesn't slow down. It accelerates. And just when fans thought the live stream was the peak of the chaos, just when it seemed like the situation might cool down, another reaction surfaced. Another clip started circulating, and another name entered the chat. Because the live stream didn't just trend, it fractured the internet. Within hours, reaction channels were dissecting every second of Blueface's tone. Not just what he said, but how he said it. The pauses, the smirks, the moments where he looked off camera, like someone else was in the room feeding him information. Viewers slowed the footage down frame by frame, as if they were analyzing courtroom evidence. And then came the so-called receipts. No official documents. No verified DNA paperwork. Just screenshots, cropped messages, a blurry text thread allegedly showing tension weeks before the birth. One line in particular kept circulating. You know the timeline don't add up. That was it. No names attached. No date visible. But it was enough to ignite speculation. Blogs picked it up instantly. Timeline questions surface. Blueface hints at more. Insiders claim private arguments. Because nothing screams stability like a relationship dispute going public minutes after a birth announcement. Fans split into camps. One side argued Blueface sounded blindsided. They said the frustration in his voice felt real. The other side insisted it was strategic, a calculated attempt to shift attention back onto himself during a moment that wasn't centered on him. And then someone clipped an older interview. In it, Blueface had joked months earlier about trust being thin. At the time, people laughed. Now, that clip felt prophetic. Comment sections filled with messages like, "He warned us." and we just didn't catch it. Meanwhile, Chrisean's silence became the loudest presence in the room. No immediate clapback, no direct denial, just a few subtle posts that could have meant anything or nothing. A hospital wristband photo, a baby emoji, a caption about new beginnings. But on the internet, even a baby emoji becomes a coded message. Then came the second wave of chaos. An anonymous blog claimed there had been tension behind the scenes involving scheduling conflicts and communication breakdowns months prior. Again, no confirmation, no proof, just sources close to the situation. And people ate it up because the narrative was too dramatic to ignore. Pooh Shiesty's name kept getting dragged into the conversation. Not because of a statement he made, but because speculation attached itself to him like static. Reaction pages posted split-screen thumbnails. Blueface on one side, Chrisean on the other, Pooh in the middle with a question mark. That question mark became more powerful than any accusation. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't just about trust. It was about betrayal, timing, public humiliation, and Blueface didn't back down. He returned to social media hours later with a cryptic post. No direct mention of anyone, just a caption that read, "Truth don't need validation." That single line sent the timeline spiraling again. Supporters interpreted it as confirmation that he stood by his claims. Critics argued it was vague on purpose, dramatic enough to fuel conversation, but safe enough to avoid accountability. Because here's the reality. Raising a doubt publicly without presenting proof creates a storm you don't have to steer. The crowd does it for you, and steer it they did. Twitter threads comparing dates went viral. TikTok creators mapped out hypothetical timelines using calendar screenshots. One influencer even created a side-by-side breakdown of tour dates and public appearances, narrating it like a crime doc. But remember, none of it was verified. Still, perception spreads faster than fact. Then something unexpected happened. A short clip surfaced of someone allegedly close to the circle laughing off the drama in a private conversation. The audio was grainy. The faces weren't visible. But one line stood out. "Y'all really think it's gonna stay quiet?" That clip, whether authentic or not, escalated everything. Because now the narrative shifted from emotional reaction to possible inside knowledge. Fans began questioning whether this was an ongoing dispute long before the birth announcement, whether private conversations had been brewing, whether resentment had been building quietly in the background. And that's when sponsors started getting tagged. Brand pages flooded with comments. "Are you still working with him? Do you support this?" Public pressure began creeping into business territory. This wasn't just relationship gossip anymore. It was reputational risk. Blueface defenders argued he had every right to question anything publicly presented about him. They said transparency, even messy transparency, was better than silent resentment. His critics argued timing matters, that if you truly care about a newborn situation, you handle it privately first. Two narratives, both loud. But here's where it got darker. Because once paternity claims enter the public arena, even indirectly, the emotional weight shifts. It stops being just about two celebrities and starts affecting long-term perception. Interviews down the line, headlines years later, clips that never disappear. And in the middle of it all, a newborn who didn't ask to be trending. Chrisean finally posted something that seemed to address the chaos. Indirectly, peace speaks louder than noise. Simple sentence. No names, no details, but the timing made it explosive. Was it directed at Blueface? At the internet? At everyone? Speculation exploded again. Some fans claimed she was dismissing the allegations entirely. Others claimed she was refusing to dignify them with a response. And then a blogger dropped another so-called update. Legal consultation rumored. No documentation. No court filings visible. Just a phrase, rumored. But that word was enough to push the narrative into a new phase. Because once legal whispers enter the chat, everything feels heavier. The live stream that started as emotional commentary was now being framed as potentially defamatory. Supporters downplayed it. Critics amplified it. And just when everyone thought the storm had peaked, another name came up. Not in an accusation, not in a confirmation, but in a repost, a like, a subtle digital breadcrumb that connected timelines in ways nobody expected. And suddenly the question wasn't just about who said what. It became about who knew what and when. But just when we thought it was over, another name came up. Not as an accusation, not as confirmation, just as a digital ripple, a repost, a subtle acknowledgement that reignited speculation all over again. And that's when the mood shifted from loud chaos to something heavier, because drama trends, but consequences linger. Blueface livestream may have sparked a fire, but now he had to sit in the smoke. Interviews were being requested. Bloggers were fishing for statements. Industry insiders started whispering about damage control, and whether intentional or not, the situation had crossed from personal dispute into brand territory. When you build your identity on transparency and controversy, you can't always predict which moment sticks. This one stuck. Some supporters praised him for standing on business. They argued that asking questions publicly isn't wrong if your name is attached to the narrative. Others criticized the timing. They said no matter what doubts exist, there's a way to handle them that doesn't unfold in front of millions. And the thing about public opinion, it doesn't stay still. At first, the reaction felt explosive, fast, emotional. But after a few days, something else crept in: fatigue. People stopped arguing as loudly. Instead, they started observing, waiting, watching for the next move, because that's the pattern. Social media storms rage hard, then pause before the next wave hits. Behind the scenes, speculation grew about private conversations taking place. Were lawyers consulted? Were mediators involved? Was there a silent agreement to cool things down? No one confirmed anything, but the silence itself felt strategic. Chrisean's post became more centered around motherhood. Soft lighting, subtle captions, no direct responses, no arguments, no visible retaliation. And whether intentional or not, that contrast changed the optics. While one side appeared confrontational, the other appeared composed. That shift matters, because in public disputes, perception often outweighs evidence. Blueface posted less frequently. When he did, the tone seemed less explosive, more reflective. Some fans interpreted that as growth. Others interpreted it as pressure. You could almost feel the weight settling in, because once you question something publicly, especially something as sensitive as paternity, you can't rewind it. Even if clarification happens later, the headline never disappears. The clips remain searchable. The speculation becomes archived, and that's where the long-term consequences begin. Industry figures who once engaged casually became cautious. Comment sections that once felt playful now felt divided. Even unrelated posts began attracting references to that live stream. It followed him, and maybe that was the part no one predicted. Drama brings attention, but attention doesn't always bring control. Meanwhile, Pooh Shiesty's name, though never officially confirmed in any documented claim, continued to trend in reaction spaces, not because he addressed it, but because the internet refused to let the narrative die. Reaction channels monetized the speculation. Commentary pages recycled the timeline breakdowns. Threads reappeared every few days as if the story had just broken. That's the thing about digital controversy. It never fully ends. It loops. But beyond the clicks and the comments, there's an emotional cost. Being publicly doubted, being publicly questioned, being publicly attached to a rumor that may or may not have basis. That leaves a mark. And while fans debate strategy, the people involved live with the aftermath. There were whispers about stress, about sleepless nights, about strained communication behind closed doors. Again, nothing confirmed. Just a reality that high-profile conflict rarely stays surface level, because when the cameras turn off, the tension doesn't. Then came the unexpected twist. Instead of escalating further, the energy began shifting toward redemption arcs, a subtle reframing. Blueface started focusing on music snippets again. Chrisean leaned deeper into motherhood content. The narrative, slowly, began drifting away from accusation and back toward individual branding. But here's what makes this story different. The question never received a definitive public answer. No formal document surfaced. No conclusive proof was shared. The storm erupted and then settled without resolution. An unresolved tension lingers longer than confirmed truth. Fans still revisit the livestream clip, still debate tone, still analyze body language, because human nature craves closure. But sometimes closure never comes. Instead, what remains is reputation. Blueface's image shifted slightly, not destroyed, not redeemed, just altered. Chrisean's public persona evolved from chaos partner to protective mother figure in the eyes of some viewers. And Pooh Shiesty? He remained largely silent in the direct narrative, existing mostly in reaction commentary rather than first-hand statements. And that silence became its own statement, because sometimes the loudest move is not responding. In the end, no arrests happened, no lawsuits were publicly confirmed, no explosive legal filings surfaced. The apocalypse that social media predicted never materialized, but something else did. A reminder that in the age of live streams and viral moments, a single sentence can rewrite months of perception. A single doubt can echo louder than 1,000 confirmations. And once doubt is public, it never fully disappears. Maybe that's the real lesson here. Not who said what, not who trended, not who gained followers, but how fragile narratives become when personal conflict turns public spectacle. The live stream faded, the hashtag slowed, the algorithm moved on. But the memory of that moment, that claim, that reaction, that name drop, stayed archived forever. And in a world where everything is recorded, replayed, and reposted, you don't need a verdict to feel the consequences. Because sometimes the loudest explosion isn't the one that destroys everything. It's the one that leaves cracks you can't quite see until years later. She stepped back from the noise. He recalibrated his image. The internet found a new headline. But the question still floats in the background of every related post. Not answered, not confirmed, just remembered. And in this game of pride, perception, and public reaction, the drama fades, but the narrative never truly dies. And now you've seen how fast a single live stream can shake an entire narrative. One statement, one name drop, one moment of emotion, and suddenly the internet turns into a courtroom with no judge, no jury, and no reset button. Because whether you support Blueface or stand a Chrisean, one thing is clear. Once doubt goes public, it never fully disappears. The clips stay up, the screenshots stay saved, the comments stay archived. And in this digital era, perception can hit harder than proof. So let me ask you something real. If you were in that position, your name trending, your private life dissected, millions of strangers debating your truth, how would you handle it? Would you go live and speak your mind? Would you stay silent and protect your peace? Or would you let the narrative spin while you build something bigger behind the scenes? Because this story isn't just about celebrity drama. It's about ego, timing, and the power of public doubt. And trust me, this isn't the last chapter. More reactions are brewing. More subtle moves are happening behind closed doors. And if history has taught us anything, it's that when things go quiet, something bigger is loading. So what do you think really happened? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. Hit that subscribe button because this story is far from over. And stay tuned because when the next update drops, we'll be right here breaking it down.